Today we're continuing to think about the work connected with our book Jemmy Button. Last time we were thinking about whether he should stay in Tierra del Fuego or whether he should go with the visitors. We're going to think a little bit more about that today, but in a different context. You had loads of ideas whether he should stay or should he go, and I'm going to collate those and I will share some of those with you tomorrow because you will need them for the activity we are going to do then. Our learning objective today, we are going to be looking at writing similar to that we're planning to write in order to understand and learn from its structure, vocabulary and grammar. What we're working towards is writing a letter to Jemmy to try and persuade him whether you think he should stay or whether you think he should go. So today we're going to have a look at some persuasive letters, thinking about their structure, the vocab and grammar that they use to help us when we write our letters tomorrow. So the success criteria. There are some important things to remember when writing a persuasive letter, and that is to lay our letter out correctly. We've got here a handy colour-coded letter to help us. So if you have a look at the green section, that is where you write your address. The pink section is where you write the address of who you're writing to. That's also a fancy word for that is recipient. In the light blue section, the turquoisey section, you're going to write a greeting and the recipient's name. So it might be Dear Jemmy when we come to write our letters. In the blue section, you're going to write the full date. I'll explain a bit later on what that looks like. In the fleshy orangey colour, you're going to write about the topic and persuade your reader. And the purple section is how you close your letter and you write your full name. We have written letters in class before, so you should be familiar with this format, but today we're thinking about using that letter to persuade somebody. So your address goes in the top right-hand side of the letter. You need to remember to put your house name or number, the street, the town and city, and the county. And there's an example there to remind you of what an address looks like. On the left-hand side in pink, you can see where you're going to put the recipient's address. So this will be Jemmy's address in Tierra del Fuego when we write the letter tomorrow. But you can see it's exactly the same. You still use their house name and number, the street, the town, the city and the county. And there is a lovely example there to remind you of what it should look like. In the blue section, which comes under where your address goes, it is the full date. So the example they've given is Tuesday, the 1st of March, 2016. So you need to have the day and the date and the year because it's the full date that needs to go there. The main bulk of your letter is to do with persuasion. You're going to think about whether Jemmy should stay on the island of Tierra del Fuego or whether he should travel with those visitors. So you need to introduce the topic you're writing about and state the argument. Do you agree or disagree and why? And then you need to think about explaining in detail. You can use words like firstly, secondly, in my opinion, some believe that. You can use some good adjectives to help your persuasion, to help your argument. You need to argue why it's so good or bad. You need to be enthusiastic. So you need to be enthusiastic about him either staying on the island or traveling with the visitors. You can do that by using some powerful verbs. Remember, a verb is an action word, so you need to use some powerful verbs, and we'll unpick that when we look at a good example in a moment. You can ask the recipient questions to get them thinking and make them realise what they need. And then you end with a summary of what you need. And we've written summaries in class before. That's when you draw all the information together and you sum it up in a sentence or two, just to give everyone an overview of what your argument is. So here's an example of a persuasive letter, and you can see how it's colour-coded exactly to match the format that we have just looked at. So in green, we've got your address. In pink, the recipient's address. In the darker blue, it's got the full date. In light blue, it's got who the letter is written to. The main persuasive argument is written in the middle, and then purple at the end, we've got yours sincerely, and you've got the person's address. So have a look through that letter. You can pause the video and have a read so you can identify some of those adjectives like beautiful, cheeky, energetic, maybe some powerful verbs. We've got breaking the law. So have a look through and see if you can remember any of the bits of the success criteria, how to make a successful persuasive letter. You're trying to persuade somebody to do something. So feel free to pause, have a look through and have a read. Today's job. You've become familiar with a persuasive letter, so you know the success criteria for writing a letter to persuade somebody. I'm going to upload a Word document onto Class Story. You need to have a look and put the persuasive letter in the right order, so to format it correctly. You can do this in a few different ways. You can either write it out in the correct order. If you want to print it out, if you've got a printer at home, you can cut and stick it in the right order. Or you can just number the parts and take a photo so you're aware where each part of the letter goes. Tomorrow we will be building on this when you're writing your own persuasive letter. So if there's any ideas in the example that you have seen in this presentation, then feel free to write those down for some notes for you to use tomorrow. So today's learning objective is we're having a look at writing a persuasive letter, which is similar to that we are going to do ourselves. Remind yourself of the format and you will be using that and applying it in tomorrow's lesson. If you've got any questions, just drop me a dojo. Take care. See you soon.